Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Sunday evening, very late on Sunday evening to be doing a live stream. However, we have had the breaking news earlier today that Marcel Brands has left his role as Director of Football at Everton Football Club. There's a little bit of confusion at the moment as to whether he's actually left or whether he's being sacked, but what we know for sure is that Marcel Brands will no longer be the Director of Football at Everton. I assume he'll be moved from the board as well, and he'll be leaving the club full time. The Director of Football, of course, signed a new deal in the summer after 3 years at the football club, signing a further 3-year extension, which indicates at the time that he was around halfway through his project as Everton's Director of Football. And this season, of course, with the appointment of Rafa Benitez, Marcel Brands' role as Director of Football has been up in the air a little bit. A lot more Evertonians have been questioning what exactly he does due to failures in recruitment, of course. We've spoke an awful lot recently about the failure to replace Seamus Coleman at right back and bring in any real cover there. And Marcel Brands' job has come under the spotlight an awful lot, certainly over the last 10 to 14 days. Of course, he was confronted at Goodison Park after Wednesday's Merseyside derby. He responded by saying, "Is it only the players?" And he visibly didn't look very happy on that evening, and rightly so. He was a member of the board of a side that had just been absolutely embarrassed by their local rivals. We heard, of course, on Friday, we were live with the live stream of the report stating that Bill Kenwright had organised an emergency meeting with Everton's board of directors, and Rafa Benitez's position was number one on the priority of the agenda. Farhad Mashiri was supposedly flying home from the United States over the weekend to hold that meeting. Now, whether that meeting took place or not, I don't know. There was some reports stating that it was taking place. There was other reports stating that it wasn't. However, what we know is some form of meeting has taken place over the last 48 hours or so, because it has been reported today that Marcel Brands has left the football club. Now, these reports are coming from everywhere. They were first started by the Mirror, who reported it, and Paul Joyce, who of course is a very reliable source, jumped on it fairly quickly as to state that the reports from the Mirror were true. We then had reports from The Athletic, of course, who are, again, very, very reliable source, confirming that information that Marcel Brands is leaving the football club. David Ornstein, who again is one of the top journalists in the country, come out and reported it. And then we had local media, the Liverpool Echo, and places like and media like that, who reported that it is actually true and that the Director of Football will be leaving. Now, we don't know much more information other than that. As I said, there's a little bit of confusion at the moment as to whether he's being sacked or whether he's actually left off his own back. We obviously haven't heard from Marcel Brands. I think it'd be really, really interesting if we did hear from Marcel Brands. There was reports in a Dutch publication earlier today to state that when when Rafa Benitez was appointed as Everton manager, Marcel Brands' job was sort of pushed to the side a little bit. Rafa Benitez would often communicate just straight with the Everton owner Farhad Mashiri rather than going through Marcel Brands, and it was almost as if Marcel Brands' job wasn't as of importance. Now, of course, they are just rumours going around in the media. They could be absolutely nonsense. However, I thought it was really, really interesting when I read those earlier on today as well. So, yeah, we've been talking about the board and the need for change. I sat here after Wednesday's Merseyside derby and said, we need change. Something needs to be something needs to be changed at this football club, because it simply isn't good enough, and those at the top are running this football club into the ground. Let's touch on Marcel Brands for a second, because whilst I do think he certainly doesn't escape criticism, and I certainly think he is to blame for certain things at the football club at the moment, obviously recruitment being the key one. He definitely isn't the only problem at Everton, Marcel Brands, and I really, really hope that Farhad Mashiri doesn't believe that, allowing Marcel Brands to leave the football club or sacking Marcel Brands will fix every single one of our problems, because it seriously won't. I've said this for a long, long time, and I've been banging on the door of this for a while. Everton Football Club isn't a poorly run establishment, a disgracefully run football club because of one person or one person's problems or one person's inability to do their jobs. It's a collective of number of people that are unable to do their jobs. We spoke about Rafa Benitez's future last week, and I said, okay, maybe Rafa Benitez does deserve a little bit more time because of injuries and lack of transfer budget, etc, etc. But, Everton going 2 months without a win in the Premier League, 1 win in 10 games. Some of the tactical decisions Rafa Benitez has made over the last couple of weeks or so, the decision to not play 3 in midfield in the Merseyside derby, the decision to not make all 3 substitutions against Brentford the week before, they're all problems that the manager has. They're all issues that the manager has. They're not issues with Marcel Brands. Marcel Brands doesn't pick the team. Marcel Brands doesn't pick the formation. Marcel Brands ultimately, isn't managing this team. Now, okay, he's brought in the players, and you could say, well, it is his fault because, the players that are on the pitch are the players that he's signed. But ultimately, the manager is still making key, fundamental, inept tactical mistakes that are down to him. As I've said before, there's a number of other people on that board that I think need to be moved on, Bill Kenwright being one of them, and I certainly hope Bill Kenwright doesn't come out and fly the big blue flag and start talking to us about how amazing he is, because he's moved Marcel Brands on, because again, these issues at the football club started well before Marcel Brands come in, and they will last well after Marcel Brands has left if other changes aren't made. And on Brands himself, as I said, he made some good decisions over his time at the football club, and he made some bad decisions over the time at this football club. I think that's only fair to say. I think it would be unfair of me to sit here and say that it was all negative, Marcel Brands' time at Everton. It was all bad. It was all, he never got anything right, because he did. He brought in some really, really good players that ultimately we look at today as some of our better players. Abdoulaye Doucouré was very much a Marcel Brands signing, and we know the importance of Abdoulaye Doucouré. Okay, you could say maybe Richarlison was more Marco Silva. Ben Godfrey, I know he's been quite up and down this season, but last season we certainly saw, the capability of a player that Ben Godfrey could be. I know he's obviously had struggled with getting over COVID and stuff, and that's had a massive knock-on effect of his season. But from last season's performances, we know certainly what Ben Godfrey is capable of, and he still is very, very young as well. Obviously, as I mentioned, Richarlison, Luca Dean come in during Marcel Brands' era. Yes, he's made some bad signings as well. Obviously, Moise Kean didn't pay off. Hopefully, financially, it pays off come the end of his loan spell at Juventus, but it didn't work out for Everton. He spent a lot of money on Moise Kean, and I think he put a lot of trust in Moise Kean working, and it didn't work. Fabian Delph is another one that a lot of people will point at. Again, £8 million at the time, Premier League winner. I didn't think that was too bad of a signing, to be fair, at the time. Now, in hindsight, it's been a really, really poor signing, because Fabian Delph has had 2 decent games in the 3 or 4 years that he's been here. Jean-Philippe Gbamin, again, in hindsight, turned out to be a poor signing, but when we signed him, this lad hadn't had an injury, pretty much at all in his career, and he comes to Everton, and he's 2-3 years out with an injury. So, he's made some bad decisions. Listen, I think spending £30 million on Alex Iwobi ultimately is a really, really bad bit of business, and that's not to dig Alex Iwobi out, but it is a really, really bad bit of business, and I'm still not 100% convinced that Alex Iwobi and the money that we spent on Alex Iwobi was purely Marcel Brands. I think that stunk of Mr. Mashiri needing a marquee deadline day signing, and not being able to get Wilfried Zaha for 80 million, so just almost saying, go and get Alex Iwobi for whatever they want, and Arsenal obviously saw us coming and said, well, we want this amount, and we paid it. So, yeah, as I said, at the minute, Aaron Yates in the comments says this confirmed. Well, at the minute, it's all but confirmed by the football club. Obviously, Everton haven't come out and said anything, but as I said, The Athletic are reporting it, Liverpool Echo are reporting it. Paul Joyce was pretty much first to jump on it. I think after the Mirror, Paul Joyce is very, very reliable on these types of situations. And the actual original article or thing that was put out was that Marcel Brands has agreed a severance package with Everton and will step down from the club with immediate effect. So again, that would likely state that effectively he's going to be paid off for what I could only assume is the rest of his contract time, and of course it would be an agreement rather than him being sacked, more like a mutual agreement. Again, financially just makes absolutely no sense for me. Everton had the perfect opportunity in the summer to say to Marcel Brands, listen, thank you very much. You've done us well. Thank you for your 3 years, but we just don't see this going any further. Shake his hand and, move on from Marcel Brands. His contract would have been up, no financial, repercussions, and yet we move on to somebody else. But the club decided to give him an extra 3-year contract in the summer. So if this severance package, I can't say that word, that his full contract is paid out, then again, it's another key example of financial failure at this football club, giving a director of football a new 3-year deal, and then within 6 months of that 3-year deal, moving him on and agreeing to pay him. Now, I don't know whether he'll be paid for the entire contract. I don't know whether he'll be paid, a lump sum to make up for that. But I certainly, I'm certain that he'll be paid some form of money that we really didn't need going out the door. Because ultimately, the way we've got to look at this now is, okay, maybe Marcel Brands did need to lose his job. I want to talk about some of the reasons that I think he come under a lot of pressure in a moment. But, we're in a position now where we know we need that, as much money as we possibly can gather for, ultimately for signing players and for improving the squad. We know that this squad is nowhere near good enough. And yes, maybe a large amount of blame should fall on Marcel Brands for that, because he's been here 3 years. He spent a lot of money and the squad still isn't anywhere near good enough. But the reality of the situation is we're now going to spend even more money sacking, a director of football and having to pay him off, and that'll be money that comes off ultimately the transfer budget in January. Now, you could say, yeah, but we'll save on his wages, etc., etc. But the severance package would state that he's going to get paid off in some form, isn't he? So what I don't want to get to is January and Rafa Benitez coming out saying, well, we had loads of money to spend and we could have improved the squad, but because Marcel Brands was moved on financially, we found ourselves a little bit stuck again, because again it just proved another financial failure of the football club. And I don't really know almost why Marcel Brands. I'd love for the club to come out and explain the reasons to why they've decided that Marcel Brands needs to lose his job. Is it because fans have obviously been up in arms over the last couple of weeks or so with the protest? We know there's a protest going on tomorrow during the game, 27 minutes for 27 years. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. Is it because Rafa Benitez has come into the football club and I had a say in this situation? Is that why Marcel Brands has lost the job? Because this can't just purely be down to Bill Kenwright and Farhad Moshiri, because I strictly remember Bill Kenwright coming out when Marcel Brands signed this new deal only a couple of months ago and saying it took one play of Z-Cars. We didn't even get to the end of the first play of Z-Cars and the deal was signed or something like that, obviously indicating that the club were more than happy with what Marcel Brands was doing and the work that Marcel Brands was doing at the football club. So it can't just be that they weren't happy, because surely they wouldn't have given him a new deal. So something has changed in that dynamic. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Somebody has come in and ruffled the feathers there. Somebody has come in and said, this isn't working. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Rafa Benitez being that person, and that might well be the case. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Marcel Brands has given a new deal. Carlo Ancelotti's left. The club are happy with Marcel Brands. The new manager comes in and almost says, I can't work with this fella. This isn't going to work. It's either me or him. Now, a lot of fans would argue, they don't know who they'd want to stay out of that situation, because Rafa Benitez isn't a massive hit with Evertonians at the moment. And as I said about 5 minutes ago, rightly so, Rafa Benitez does not escape blame. He has made some awful, awful decisions. And if some rumours are to be believed, which again, there are rumours flowing around at the moment, let me just read some of them out so we can keep everybody as up to date as we possibly can. The latest regarding this is, according to the Mirror, Rafa Benitez is now set to take full control of Everton's recruitment process after Farhad Moshiri assured him he has his full backing. So again, yes, that's coming from the Mirror, and you could say that might be an absolute load of tosh, and it might be an absolute load of tosh, but if we've not got a director of football, and we don't know as of yet whether the club are actively looking for a new director of football, that hasn't come out, that hasn't been confirmed. I'm sure, the club will release a statement over the next couple of days, I would assume tomorrow, with it being Monday, about Marcel Brands, and maybe we'll hear a little bit more in that. But ultimately, it would leave us to maybe assume that Rafa Benitez will now be taking full control over these the transfers and decisions that maybe Marcel Brands was making or not being allowed to make in the past. But ultimately, that's a really, 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 really controversial decision, in my opinion, to give a manager who currently sits 16th in the Premier League with Everton I think we're 16th anyway, 16th in the Premier League, with Everton having not won a game in 2 months, 1 win in 10 games. Coming into, what are we now? Coming into December, towards Christmas time. Yeah, sitting 16th in the Premier League, just 5 points above the relegation zone, only 2 points above Watford, who are in 17th in the Premier League. To give a manager who is overseeing this, and yes, you can talk about injuries all you like, and yes, you can talk about the fact we didn't have much of a transfer budget in the summer, that's fine. But at the end of the day, Rafa Benitez's Everton side are still only a couple of points above the relegation zone coming towards Christmas. Now, as I said the other day, they typically say that whoever's top of the league at Christmas wins the league. Whoever's in the relegation battle at Christmas is in the relegation battle towards the end of the season. That isn't good enough. It's not like Rafa Benitez is getting us up the league and we're fighting for Europe and we're winning and we're battling and we're competing. And then he said, right, I can't work with Marcel Brands, he needs to move on. Everton are in real danger of being in a tough relegation battle this season. Whether we've had injuries or whether we've had buttons to spend in the summer or not, that isn't good enough. And to give full control, if that rumour is to be believed, to the manager who is putting us in that situation and is tactically week in, week out making inept decisions, I don't think that's the most sensible thing to do personally. But let's be honest, when do Everton ever do the most sensible thing? When did they do that? Literally, yes, last week we had Farhad Mashiri coming out one day and saying we're backing Rafa Benitez and, there's no panic, and Bill Kenwright coming out and organising an emergency meeting the very next day. These are meant to be working together for our football club. Now, as I said, for me, it doesn't stop at Marcel Brands. I think Bill Kenwright needs to lose his job. We are going to do a stream on the board. I promised that it'd be this weekend. I've had a little bit of a manic weekend, hence why this live stream is quite late today. But the Denise Barrett-Baxendale situation's a bit mad for me, because I don't really know what Denise Barrett-Baxendale does. Denise Barrett-Baxendale might be able to sit in a room with me and say, hang on, I was tasked with the job of doing, running the club every day in terms of, administration and all that sort of stuff, and the stadium. Now, the stadium is going brilliantly. I've sorted all of that, and everyday administration stuff is fine. So don't be blaming me for what happens on the pitch. That's his and his responsibility, not mine. And in that case, you'll have to sit down to Denise and say, well, yeah, the stadium is going great, all of that's perfect, it's the football that we've got a problem with. But there's deeper problems rooted within Everton, the communication, the organisation of the football club. As I said, our owner coming out and talking to his mate on national media rather than coming out and talking to us as fans. But I just really hope that the club don't think that sacking Marcel Brands or moving Marcel Brands on will solve everything. I really don't, because as I said on Wednesday night, and I'll say it again today, I don't see a way back for Rafa Benitez in the eyes of the majority of Evertonians. So to give a fella full reign who's currently got us sitting 16th in the Premier League with, I'd say, a large chunk of Evertonians, I'm not going to say a majority, but I'd say a lot of Evertonians currently wanting this man out of a job, and understandably so. And even the Evertonians that really don't want him out the job, I think, are coming to the conclusion that he probably ain't going to keep his job for much longer. To give him full reign for me seems a little bit silly. Now, there's another thing to think about in this situation as well, and that is a little bit more of a business type of decision for the football club to make. Now, if I'm to be believed, and I think what I'm about to say is true, but don't quote me, a company, or certainly a company of the scale of Everton Football Club, has to have 3 directors, official directors linked to the football club. Now, Marcel Brands was one of 3 directors at Everton Football Club, so the fact that he's left the football club, or will be leaving the football club, would sort of insinuate that Everton would need to go out and bring in another director. Now, whether they would go within the club and just appoint somebody for the sake of just appointing them and giving them that title so they can tick a box, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if fucking Jose Baxter got it, or fucking David Unsworth, or Gary, who, puts the cones out of Finch Farm, got it just for the sake of it. But it is interesting to think about that will Everton now need to go out and bring in another director? Whether that's another director of football, I don't know. I'd certainly be looking at bringing in another director of football, because I don't think Rafa Benitez is in any sort of position to be throwing demands out. I really, really don't. Again, the rumours are stating that, Farhad Moshiri has told Rafa Benitez that he'll be given, he'll be backed fully, and that's fine. You can back a manager fully, you can give him all of the, the guarantees you want. You can not sack him all you like. Doesn't mean he should be given full reign of the football club, especially full reign of a football club sitting in 16th in the Premier League and in a real dangerous position. So look, it's an interesting one. As I said, we don't know an awful lot about it. There'll be a lot of news and rumours floating about the internet over the next couple of days or so, and I wouldn't read too much into all of it. There's one regarding Jose Mourinho floating about the news. It's to state that Everton will be looking at Jose Mourinho as a replacement for Rafa Benitez. I wouldn't particularly look too much into that. Let me just read you the Echo's article on the situation, just so we can sort of get a gauge of how broad the situation is at the current moment. And bearing in mind it's 10:05 on a Sunday evening, this news was first put out there around about 2:45 this afternoon. So I do apologise about the lateness for the live stream. We don't usually like to do these streams this late, of course. However, I've had a bit of a manic day. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. 120 odd people watching. That is absolutely unbelievable. If you could hit that thumbs up, it would be great. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. So the Echo have said that Marcel Brands is set to leave his role as Everton's director of football after 3.5 years at the club. The Dutchman signed a new 3-year deal in April, but Brands is a casualty of the Blues' poor run of form, which leaves them just above the relegation zone. Brands was confronted by an angry supporter following the defeat to Liverpool in midweek, which extended the team's winless run to 8 matches. Obviously, the supporter pointed at him and said, "Do you recruit these?" Brands replied, "It is only the players." Rafa Benitez is inherited the squad in which he assigned under 6 other managers, and while Brands was not responsible for a number of those signings, he has been relieved of his duties. So there you go. Again, some people would read that saying he's been sacked. Other people will read that and say there's almost sort of, it seems like a mutual agreement between Marcel Brands and the football club. And if there is a mutual agreement between Marcel Brands and the football club, it would be interesting, because it would almost sort of seem like maybe Marcel Brands wasn't happy. Now, as I said, there's reports floating around in Dutch media and stuff that when Rafa Benitez come to the football club, Marcel Brands was sort of pushed to one side, and Rafa Benitez went straight to Farhad Moshiri to talk business, etc. If that is the case, then I don't know why Marcel Brands hasn't walked earlier, to be honest with you, if he's not being allowed to do his job. But it's interesting that, it almost seems like maybe, and again, maybe it's just the way I'm reading it, maybe I'm reading it completely wrong, but it almost seems like this isn't a straight, right, Marcel Brands is being sacked. I was seeing people talking about this on Twitter and saying, Brands is being sacked, and I've almost, from the articles I was reading, it didn't really sound like he'd been sacked. It almost sounded like there'd been an agreement. Peter says, mate, the Echo, again, the Echo was the first that popped up. The Athletic have reported the exact same thing. The Times, obviously, Paul Joyce has reported the same thing. The Mirror, pretty much all of David Ornstein, who's one of the most reliable journalists in the country, is reporting it as well. It's everywhere. It's true. It's all but confirmed by the football club, to be fair. And again, I would assume that that'll be confirmed tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoonish or tomorrow morningish, whenever. Maybe not even tomorrow. Maybe after the game. But as I said, the reality is Marcel Brands isn't the only problem with the football club. Now, Marcel Brands has had his problems. I think the right-back situation is unforgivable for me. And I simply will not have it any other way that Marcel Brands is at fault for the reason we have not signed a right-back. You can talk to me all you like about Rafa Benitez not wanting Denzel Dumfries or this, that and the other. We've needed a right-back since Marcel Brands signed his first contract 3 years ago. He was quick to get, to replace Leighton Baines with Luca Dean. He should have been doing the exact same with Seamus Coleman in the exact same transfer window. So I'm not taking any of this. What's not Marcel Brands' fault. He tried. He's had years to bring in a right back, and he hasn't. He's failed in that department. Now, it hasn't been all doom and gloom for Brands. He has made some good signings, and some have worked. But I just think, again, as I said, I don't know. Maybe it just, again, it's gone past that point of potentially working now. You know, the owner clearly is adamant on keeping Rafa Benitez at the football club, and adamant that Rafa Benitez is the right man for the job. And maybe Rafa Benitez secretly has sort of gone to the owner and said, listen, if I'm to do my work, if I'm to do my work to a good standard, then I can't be working with a director. I can't be being told who I can sign, who I can't sign, etc., etc. And maybe that's what's made the decision. But as I said before, just sacking Marcel Brands and then sitting back and going, everything's sound then, is shocking for me. Absolutely shocking. If Farhad Moshiri's wanting to make massive moves at the club to change the football club and for the better, then Marcel Brands can't be the only person that loses his job. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Should Marcel Brands have lost his job? Some would argue yes, some would argue no. Some would certainly argue that he wouldn't have been the first on the list, and he wouldn't have been the first on my list. He certainly wouldn't have been the first on my list. But, you know, it's happened now. And as I said, it almost doesn't seem like he's been sacked. It almost seems like there's been some form of agreement there, but we'll definitely find out more information over the coming days. Anyway, I'm going to get in the live comments then and run through some of the comments. Once again, it's literally 10 o'clock on a Sunday evening. I bet you a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking, I just want to sit and have a cup of tea and watch QI until I go to bed ready for Monday. But thank you all, 150 people currently watching. That is unbelievable, honestly. It's unbelievable. Thank you all so much for watching. If you are enjoying, please hit that thumbs up button. It does only take a second. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we will still be doing that video about the board, but it just seems like when I mentioned about doing that video, everything's sort of fallen to pieces. I thought I'd be sitting there yesterday and on Friday saying, right, I'm going to do a video, I'm going to have a little go at the board, I'm going to give my feelings, I'm going to talk about what I want, what I think needs changing at the football club. And by the time I'd said that in the preview, there was a report that Bill Kenwright had arranged an emergency meeting, and now Marcel Brands has left the football club, so changes are being made, and I haven't even done the video. Anyway, yeah. We have got a super chat, £2 from Mozza. Thank you very much, Mozza. Really do appreciate it. I never ever ask for super chats, but honestly, I really do appreciate it. If anybody ever wanted to give a super chat, by the way, and again, I never ask for them, but it's the little $sign by where you type your comments in. I'll never ask for donations or anything, but I really do appreciate them. He says, alright, Cam, towards Big Dunk's first window. Well, it seems at the moment that you know, that it'll be Rafa Benitez who's still in charge, still in charge. You know, a couple of those articles regarding Marcel Brands were of the thought that, you know, Rafa Benitez will be given reign, and Rafa Benitez will be given you know, the transfer, you know, freedom and all of that sort of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. One thing I would say is, again, and we are going to talk about let's get through with some of the comments and then I'll say what I've got to say. Sam says, good day for the Blues this Cam, thank God he's gone, should have gone the moment Iwobi deal was sanctioned. Let's get Denise and Bill out now so we can have a nice clean slate. Come on, you Blues. Sombero says, good riddance, but hopefully more to follow. Is right. Chandler says, hi Cam, sorry I haven't been on for a while, been mad busy in uni, not with work, like, no worries my mate. Tom says, result is gone. Damien says, alright Cam, pal, madness going on at the club at the minute. Moshiri needs to come out and speak to us fans directly and tell us what's going on in the direction. Yeah, I agree. Will says, glad he's gone Cam, need the others to follow him out the door too. Hernandez says, I feel like Brands is a scapegoat, seems as though Moshiri bypassed him every chance he got. Benitez taking over the transfer business isn't going to be that difficult with $0 to spend. Yeah, I would agree. Scott says, Kenwright should have been the first to go. Bobby says, is there any truth that the Hispanic Baxendale has left for John Lewis? Lots of speculation on this, mate. I haven't seen any speculation on that. Mazza says, good start, keep going. It's right. Wayme says, Cam lad, what's happening? Tafe says, open communication from Moshiri to the fans is paramount right now. Smash the likes. It was paramount when he come out and messaged Jim White after the Merseyside derby. He didn't think, do you know what? I'm going to, you know, I'll get in touch with whoever at the football club, you know, whoever in the media department. I'll write them a little text and I'll get them to put it on a nice fancy little wallpaper with a picture of me in the back, and I'll get them to tweet it out and put it on the website, just titled, you know, an update from the owner. That would have gone much further than sending a text message to his mate on the radio. It's nonsense. Cheers for saying smash the likes, by the way. Tez says, let's hope he's the first of many more. We're a laughing stock in the Prem, sack everyone with a joke, mate. Damien says, Denise is already looking for other jobs. Well, there's rumours rumours again going round about that, but nothing confirmed about that. Hernandez says, even though Machiri has backed Benitez, how much longer can he possibly get if we don't pick up a point until January? He'll be 19th by that point. Yeah, I agree. And somebody else says, Gbamin being injury-free prior to Everton is a complete myth. You can look it up on transfer. He wasn't injury-free, but he certainly didn't have, as bad of an injury record as he's got. As he's got at Everton, which to be fair isn't hard. But yeah, no, as somebody quite rightly mentioned in the comments, then the communication from the football club. This seems to be the case when anything like this happens. The media get a hold of it before anybody else. And listen, that's the same for a lot of clubs. It's the same for a lot of clubs. That things will often be leaked to the mainstream media before they're officially announced by the football club. That's ultimately what the media is there for, I suppose. Not only to comment on these things, but to break these stories before anybody else. But this was broken at 2:45 this afternoon. 2:30, 2:45, that Marcel Brands would be leaving his role at Everton Football Club. Now, I get it's a Sunday. I get that. And I get the media team at the football club might have been sat down having their roast. But this wasn't broken 10 or 15 minutes ago. I'm just extremely late with the live stream, which I apologise about that for. This was broken at 2:45, and we've still not heard nothing from the football club. Now, multiple Everton fan channels have spoken on it. I'm now speaking on it. Again, as I said, it doesn't seem like it's speculation, or is he leaving, is he not leaving? The Echo, The Athletic are coming out with quite strong titles. Marcel Brands leaves Everton Football Club. It couldn't be any stronger of a title. So it's obviously confirmed news. It's obviously happened. It's obviously, it's not just speculation. It's real life. It's there. Why haven't we heard anything from the football club? News: Everton's director of football, Marcel Brands, is to leave his role at the club, according to David Ornstein. Paul Joyce has said, even before David Ornstein, Marcel Brands to leave role as director of football at Everton, as per Simon Mullock of the Mirror, who reported it first. As I said, the Liverpool Echo's article itself, they've done a number of articles talking about it, but their main article itself simply reads, Marcel Brands leaves Everton with immediate effect. So, again, this isn't speculation, this isn't rumours, this isn't paper talk. This has clearly happened. Somebody at the club has made this decision for Marcel Brands to leave, and that information is being fed out to the media. Now, I don't know whether the club have thought, get it out to the media, get them to say something, get them to put it out there and see what the response is of fans before we put it out there. But again, that communication, what would it have killed Everton to have come out and said to the media, do you know what, we're going to take this one ourselves, we're going to put a statement out this afternoon, out the blue for everybody, and we'll communicate with fans. Why is it, again, why are we hearing everything? It's almost like Everton are that one sort of person that's late to the party with everything, isn't it? You're in a group of mates and, your mate comes up, you're there talking about something for 20 minutes and your mate comes up 20 minutes later and goes, fucking hell, mate, have you heard about Johnny down there? Yeah, he was having a pint the other day and he ended up getting a pack of crisp, and someone come over and, put the pack of crisp on his head and poured the pint all down him. Have you heard that? And you're sitting there like, yeah, we were literally just talking about it for the last half an hour, mate. Where have you been? Everton are almost like that person, aren't they, that just turn up and go, fucking hell, have you heard about this? And you're like, yeah, it was in the news like 3 days ago. We know about it. Have you been living under a rock? It's almost like they just hide away and go and peek above the cover and be like, what are people saying? Are people happy about this? People aren't happy? Alright, we'll go back under and pretend it's not happened. Are people happy? Okay, we'll come out with a statement. Come out and talk to us. Come out and communicate with us. How many times do we have to ask about communication? It's not hard. Release a statement. Marcel Brands has left his role as director of football with immediate effect. More information will come in the coming days. That's it. It takes 35 seconds to write a statement and to get a picture off of Google Images of Marcel Brands and plop it there. It doesn't take long whatsoever, and yet the club again are leaving it to other people to do. And again, we've heard nothing from the football club. There'll be people there today that don't believe it to be true. There'll be people there thinking paper talk camp, nonsense, not even real information. Well, a lot of the media are coming out, and trust me, David Ornstein, Paul Joyce, these journalists wouldn't put their neck on the line if this wasn't true and confirmed. They wouldn't come out and say, this person has left his role at a job, if they hadn't. So why aren't we hearing from the football club? It just baffles me, in my opinion. It baffles me. Glenn says, poor Johnny, he worked really hard for those crisps. Well, listen, sometimes Johnny gets it, don't he? Johnny gets it sometimes. Anyway, I want to talk about the protest for a couple of minutes before we do finish up. 27 minutes for 27 years. If you haven't heard about this, a couple of fan groups, I believe, have come together to organise a protest which will take place during Everton's Premier League game against Arsenal tomorrow evening, and it will be a protest which means that on the 27th minute, the fan groups have asked anybody taking part leaves their seat, and I'm not too sure at the moment whether it leaves the ground and goes sort of home, or whether it's just leave the seat temporarily, go down into the gantry, go to the toilet, get a drink or whatever. It would make, in my opinion, it would be more of a statement if people were to leave the ground, because the media would get onto it, they'd latch onto it and stuff like that. But again, I don't know the full extent of that information. But it's out there, it's on social media. If you're on social media, you'd have heard of this. A lot of people are backing it, and a lot of people are saying that they're going to do it. And the reason for it is 27 minutes for 27 years. It's to show the board that going 27 years without a trophy is simply not good enough, and therefore people will be walking out on the 27th minute of tomorrow's game. Now, I am all for fan protests against the board. I really, really am. And I think this one is a very good idea at showing the board. What I would say already is it seems to have already sort of worked, because somebody at Everton has clearly gotten wind of the fact that there's going to be a protest and fed that back to the club, and the club have then ultimately decided that Marcel Brands is going to be the first one that loses his job. Get that out there on the media on Sunday night, and maybe hope that people will go, alright, we won't protest now because changes are being made. That isn't going to be the case. People are still going to leave the football club to leave the ground tomorrow if they decide to follow this protest. What I would say about the protest is that I think it's really, really important that we respect each other's decisions and we respect each other's opinions. Listen, there'll be people in the ground tomorrow who will want to leave at 27 minutes to make a stance against the board, and there'll be people at the ground who don't want to leave on 27 minutes, not because they don't want to make a stance against the board, but probably because they don't feel like that is a necessary protest to have, or they don't feel maybe that will work, and that's fine. As I said, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to how they feel. And that is completely fair enough. As I said, one thing I would say is let's try and stay united with this. If you don't agree with it and you don't want to take part, you don't have to take part. Nobody's forcing you. Nobody is telling you to. You simply don't have to take part. But what we don't need to do is some people getting up and leaving and screaming at other people for not getting up and leaving, and other people, seeing people leaving and screaming, why are you leaving, this, that and the other. We don't need to be any more divided as a football club than we are at the moment. So if I was to say anything about the protest tomorrow, it's that if you're doing it, fair play, well done, good on you. If you're not doing it, that's fair play. That's your own decision. That's your own, that's your own prerogative. But can we try, if you're at Goodison tomorrow, can we try and respect everybody's opinions and everybody's thoughts? And that goes for the people that will be protesting as well. If you see somebody not getting up and leaving, then that's their decision. They don't want to do it. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't think there's issues at the football club. Doesn't necessarily mean that they don't want the board to be moved on. It maybe just means that they don't feel that's a necessary protest to make. And if you're sitting down and you're seeing people leaving, then please don't try and cause trouble or scream or shout, because again, people can make whatever decision they want. A lot of people will believe that this will be a positive thing, and this will really seriously show the board that we're not happy, and personally I think it will. Some people won't think it will. Personally I think it will. But one thing we simply can't do is become more divided than we already are. We've already established that we're so disconnected from the football club at the moment. We don't want to disconnect ourselves as fans. We don't want to start arguing amongst fans. That's when Goodison's at its worst. That's when it was bad on the derby with people just the atmosphere, the negativity and stuff. I've been at Goodison when fans have been fighting in the ground with each other, not over a protest, but over the board or over managers or over players, and that that ultimately that's just not what we want. That's simply not what we want. We don't want people fighting. We don't want people arguing. We don't want people again getting kicked out. It's simple. It's as simple as this. It's a personal decision and it's a personal choice. The protest is there. Nobody's forcing anybody to take part. If you want to take part, good on you. If you don't want to take part, that's your choice. That's your thought. But let's not get at each other's throat. Let's not have a go at people. Let's not, again, and that's both sides of the situation, as I said. So that's one thing I would really say about the protest, is that let's try and stay united, because we all want the same thing. We all want the same thing, don't we? We all want Everton to be a resounding success. We all want Everton to be challenging for titles, challenging for Europe, winning games of football, absolutely brilliant to watch. That's what we want. We all want the same thing. Nobody wants anything different, do they? So let's hope that, we can stay, as I said, as one tomorrow as a fan base. Again, not saying everybody's got to do the protest, not saying everybody doesn't do the protest, but what I'm saying is respect people's decisions and respect people's opinions for me, because, last thing we need is fans falling out over it. But yeah, there you go. That again, that is what I've got to say on that. It's been arranged. I'm sure a lot of people will be taking part. I'm sure a lot of people won't be taking part. But there you go. 27 minutes for 27 years. Martin says, United we stand, divided we fall. There you go. Again, if there's any more division at the football club, then it's only going to be a negative, isn't it? Stephen says, whoever doesn't take part, listen, as I said, people can make their own assumptions and stuff. Damien says, everyone's got their own choice to do it. Yeah, there you go. Paul says, be a stay behind in the brick protest all drunk. Denise mentioned your channel today. She definitely didn't, mate, but if she did, let me know where and when so I can go and have a look. Signet says, leaving means leaving, don't do something half-arsed. Adam says, it would be a good to see a 50+1 type of running by the fans. It would be, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Ken Wright has to go, says Ian. Ian also says, after the game, protest will be better, doesn't affect the game. And I think that's a lot of, the fans that maybe don't agree with it is I think a lot of them have got that opinion that why can't it be something that doesn't directly affect the game? But again, that's probably the whole point. The whole point, those that have organised it would say, well, the whole point is that so midway through the game, the board see us actively leaving. After the game, they'll be in their fancy cars and having their fancy meals, and they won't be asked what people are doing after the game. It's during the game that they're really interested. Where are we? Louis says, good to see change at the club. Want Luis Campos to replace Brands. It'd be difficult to get Campos in. It'd be difficult. Crimson says, end of the day, people take their kids and others may travel far to watch us. Can't expect the whole ground to get up. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Cam, says Turfborg. Cheers. Who wants my channel taken? The club. No chance. Paul says, well done, Chris. Respect. Chris says, spot on, Cam. Cheers, mate. Crimson says, banners needed to get Ken Wright out. We'll be taking me bed sheets. Chris says, I'm travelling from Nottingham, so leaving completely I can't justify, but I'll go down in the 27th minute and come up. See, there'll be a lot of people with a lot of different, reasons. Some people will say, I'm not leaving because I want to watch Everton and I want to support the team. And ultimately, people will say, we're 16th in the Premier League, we're dangerously close to the relegation zone. These players we all have established are confidence-based players. They need us now, and we can deal with the board at a different time. Again, everyone's entitled to their own reasons and decisions and stuff like that. Mr. Blue says, so whoever we shout at gets sacked. Some shout at Bill tomorrow if you can't see him. It almost does seem like, certain people at the club have gone, oh, fans were having a go at him, get rid of him. Well, hang on. Fans were having a go at everybody. Callum Snell, what's happening? Callie says, good that it's in front of the Sky cameras and Machiri in attendance. No hiding place for the board. Ken Wright can't bury his head in the sand. Well, I think the performance and result might be of no hiding place either, mate, depending on what happens tomorrow. Roberto says, ironic, the board game a 3-year contract, 8 months later, sacking him, mistakes again. Yeah, financial mistakes massively again. Stephen says, ICAM looks like Rafa will be supported in January window. They have asked the Prem how much a club can spend without going over FFP. Interesting. Well, I'm sure he will be backed, unless, again, it wouldn't surprise me if Machiri sacked him if we lost tomorrow, to be honest with you, because that seems to be what happens, doesn't it? We just make these rash decisions now with no, with no plan. Are we going to replace Marcel Brands? Are we done with the director of football model now? We're going to go and get somebody in that, we know can do the job. Michael Edwards, ex-Liverpool. I know some people will go, oh, we don't need another ex-cop. I'd turn Liverpool from a bang-average Premier League side to the team they are now. So, maybe there's other people that are obviously, out of a job that do a great job. So, again, it is interesting. Paul says, we need and demand so much fight for the team tomorrow. Yes. Crimson says, agree, Cam, well said. Cheers, my mate. Why would we be winning, says Sambiero. Dan says, I support the protest, but say we're winning 1-0, are fans likely to leave? We'll wait and see. Denise is in charge of communication. Colin Chong has the stadium. Well, then Denise needs moving on then as well, in my opinion, because the communication is the worst I've ever witnessed from a professional football club. So yeah, as I said, I really don't know what Denise does, to be honest with you. I really don't. I'd love to know. Peter says, think it's because the communications officer doesn't start till 9 a.m. on Monday, was roosted off for Sunday. That's fine, but it literally takes 2 minutes for somebody with access to the social medias to put a statement out. We're a professional football club. Football clubs don't run on a 9 to 5. It's we don't run on a 9. If we were playing today, they'd have been in work, wouldn't they? Somebody else is looking forward to the next Brands interview in Dutch media. Yeah, Bright says so they're there, and so will the Cam. Yeah, there you go. Interesting. We need a page from top to bottom. Cam for interim till the end of the season. Mr. Blue says, Cam, do you think we will sell Pickford in January to raise funds? I hope not. I really, really hope not, but it wouldn't surprise me. Who goes next? Can't wait. If I had money on it, it would be probably Benitez, to be honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me if the club said, 1 minute, we're going to back you fully, and the next minute they sacked them. Yeah, there you go. Dave says, former Bank of England and World Bank boss is a massive blue. Sure, he could do a better job than he. Shane Ranić has been taken as he'd be ideal. Yeah, I'd agree. Connor says, it's so worrying that he has left after 3 years deal. A new 3-year deal. He's been successful everywhere else. Feel like it's more of a case of Benitez going to the owner rather than him making it impossible. There you go. Michael Edwards is supposedly going to Newcastle, says Stephen. That would be unbelievable for Newcastle. Likes up, says Simba. Thank you very much. Sarcasm, Kansas Peter. Oh, there you go. Campbell's on a free, I think, says Louis. And Pokey says, glad they got rid of Brands and not Rafa, although if we lose tomorrow. As I said, I don't think Rafa Benitez will be in a job for much longer, personally. But, there you go. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Once again, 190 people watching for the live stream on a Sunday night at 10:30 is unbelievable. I really, really do appreciate it. If we could get those likes up, it would be great. We're on 85. Maybe if we could get to 100 before the end, that would be absolutely brilliant. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments as well. Really, really do appreciate it. It would mean a massive, massive amount to me if you could leave a comment if you're watching a YouTube video. That would be absolutely fantastic. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We hit 5,200 subscribers today, which was unbelievable. We will still be doing that live stream on the board, but it will probably be within the next week or so now, because we mightn't even have a board come next week, so there mightn't even be anything to say. But yeah, big thank you to everybody for watching. As I said, just to round up, the latest at the moment is that a lot of the top journalists in the country, Paul Joyce, David Ornstein, The Athletic, the Liverpool Echo, of course, a lot of journalists and publications now reporting that Marcel Brands will leave his role as Everton Director of Football with immediate effect. There's other rumours around and other media as to the reasons why, but we don't know anything other than that. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll hear from the club at some point over the next coming days. But there's a game of footy to be played tomorrow, and it's an absolute must-win for Rafa Benitez and Everton. No draw, no, we played well and got a point, none of that. We've got to win this game. When you look at that league table and you look at some of the results over the last couple of days, that game is an absolute must-win. You can check out the game preview to the Arsenal game on the channel. As of now, we give our predicted starting 11 and talked a little bit more about the importance of this game. That is on the channel now. We also done a video talking about the emergency meeting that Bill Kenwright supposedly organised as well, so you can check that out. We will be back tomorrow with the instant match reaction and the player ratings directly after the game, so don't forget to join us for them. Let's hope it's a positive one, because that's what we need, effectively. That's what we need. Let's fly through these last few comments then before we finish up. Roberto says Kenwright is the worst chairman in terms of winning things in all English football. Well, we haven't won anything under him, so hard to disagree. Stephen says Brands on the way to Newcastle. I heard that before, but I don't know whether it's true. Denise Barabakandale is the CEO, Martin. Mikey says, let's be honest, Cam, we needed the shake-up. We can't blame it all on Rafa. To be honest, he brought in our best players right now. Yeah, I don't think it can all be blamed on anyone. I don't think it can all be blamed on Rafa. It can all be blamed on Brands. I just think that everybody takes blame for certain things. Rafa Benitez takes blame for the form at the moment for me, and the fact that some of his decisions have been awful. But I get where you're coming from. Polky says, if we got rid of Pickford, we'd be in serious trouble because Begovic is champ. We would have to replace him, wouldn't we? We would have to replace him. Stevie says, do Evertonians even want Benitez to bring them back, Laurie? Yeah. If you were to say to me now, right, Cam, Benitez stays and you win a trophy, but he has to stay, you're happy? Well, yeah, because that's the whole point of it, isn't it? Maybe I'm a one-off. Mr. Blue Sky says, night, Cam. Cheers. Livy says, nice one, Cam. In a bit, my mate. Cheers, my mate. Tess says, how are we going to beat Arsenal with fans leaving the ground? Protest outside the ground. The old lady. Well, that is the protest that is arranged. So, give him my give my thoughts on it. Tom says, see you, Cam. Cheers. Mozza says, cheers, Cam. Take it easy. Laters, everyone. Cheers, mate. Joe says, I seen us linked with Jose. Rather keep Rafa. See about the toffee. Says, Eugene is right. In a bit, Cam. Come on, you Blues. Says, Crimson. Martin says, great team as always. Thank you very much. Lad Football Goals is going for 6-0. I'll take it. Up the F and toffee, says Tom. Dave says, come on, you Blues. Always appreciate it, Cam. Cheers, my mate. Needs to show fight and passion to Mona, says Adam. We certainly do. David's going for 3-0 Arsenal. Very optimistic, my mate. Proud to be Blues, says Everton rotten, pay the money and get the best business people and pay the money for the best football related people. We're going to be a laughing stock. Yeah, I would agree. And Jamie says players will know Benitez will get rid of them if no effort. Maybe. But as I said, look, we can talk about Marcel Brands and the board all day. There's a game of footy to be played tomorrow, and more importantly, there's a game of footy to be won. So there you go. Anyway, big thanks for watching. Once again, massive thanks to everybody in the live comments for getting involved. If you've watched the YouTube video, leave your comments down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.